Okay, so the Hurricanes beat Wake Forest 42-14. And a lot of people are excited about it. Typically, I don't watch any other like YouTube channels or do any reading until I give my rapid reaction, but I did things a little differently this time. The reason why is because I had surgery last Friday and small complications made me lose my voice. And I was kind of like, should I save my voice for my Monday meetings because I own a few businesses and I have to talk to employees all the time? Or should I just jump into this podcast, give all that I got, and lose my voice and just be done for the rest of the week? So I guess as you see, I'm here doing this podcast, so I'm basically canceling the rest of my businesses or the rest of my work week today. So I guess I'm gonna have an early Thanksgiving. I'm done for the rest of the week. Um, so how should I? Okay, so I'm just gonna introduce myself first, and I'll jump into some things. I got a lot of stuff to talk about, but I'm Jordan Harris, your favorite host in the entire world, and this is Sports Truth. So, as I said earlier, man, people are really excited, and I can understand why. The defense gave up 7 points, really, because one of those things was a kickoff turn, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the defense gave up 7 points. People are excited. I've been watching Locked On Canes. I watched Locked On ACC. I've watched the Rock Boys, which I'm a big fan of theirs. Um, I've just looked at a little bit of everything, and people have a different mindset than I have as far as what I saw in the game. I almost feel like maybe they watched a different game than I did, kind of. And I'm an optimistic guy. I'm Mr. Optimistic, so it was kind of crazy for me to have that mindset. But here's my thoughts, okay? I feel like I've been begging for Coach G, to simplify the defense. Let's stop doing all this show blitz and then at the last second try to back out of it to fool the other team. I've been saying, let's please be done with that. Base align everything. If they've got two receivers on that side, put two corners over there. If they got one tight end and a receiver on this end, then let's put a tight end or let's put a linebacker over that tight end and then put a corner over that receiver. Just play straight baseline defense. Nothing cute. If you're playing with the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant and the Splash Brothers when they had that stacked team, and you're playing against the last ranked team in the NBA, all those gadgets and all that cute stuff, just throw it out the window, man. Just roll the ball out there and let your team play ball. And I think Coach G has been doing stuff a little too cute instead of just letting them play. Um, so it did look to me like he simplified some things this time, thankfully. When he simplified things, it allows Kiko to do what he does better than anything else, which is play downhill football. Laterally, Kiko is not that guy. So when you have him with his foot right in front of the football, staring down the center, and then he's backing out and he's trying to get lateral left or right to chase the wide receiver who's gone out to catch a pass, it's gone terribly for us this year. He didn't hardly do that at all this week. What he did was just simplified everything. Baseline, if we show him blitz, we blitzed. If we show coverage, we played coverage. And I know that won't work against teams like Ohio State and some of these higher ranked teams and whatnot. That's cool. We'll deal with that when we get to it. But right now, let's not outsmart ourselves and have us looking crazy because we're trying to be too cute. Play the game straight up and down. When you got the more talented team on the field, you're going to win when you play that style of football. Okay, so we simplified things. Super glad to see that. Also, I will say that this defense looks totally different when the front four is active. When the front four is making the quarterback think, when the front four is getting pressure on the quarterback straight up the middle, this defense looks totally different because now the defensive backs who have struggled this year, they're not having to cover people for 3 or 4 seconds. Instead, they know the ball's coming out in 1 or 2 seconds, and they're able to jump these routes like we saw Mish Powell do almost 3 times this game, right? So that's a big difference. So I'm going to give them credit on all that. Simplified things. The defense looks much better when the defensive line threatens, and then we just did base align everywhere. Now, this is the truth part, okay? I think Wake Forest has the most inept offense that I've seen all season. And I think that includes Florida State. It looked to me like Wake Forest did not watch any tape on the Hurricanes all season because the things that the Hurricanes struggle in, Wake Forest didn't attack any of it. Didn't even try to. It looked like they were just trying to stay within a possession the entire game. Like they ran the ball, I think 3 times on 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 11. Like 3rd and 7 plus, you should be throwing the ball if you're being aggressive and you're really trying to win the game. But 3rd and 11, 3rd and 8, like they're running the ball right up the middle. Crazy to me. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the Hurricanes have struggled. Something that I noticed this game, we're not as bad in run defense as I thought. What we are bad at is lateral run defense. We struggle with that. And Wake Forest only did 1 or 2 of those types of plays. And what I mean by that is what I call peekaboo football. And y'all think that's probably a weird phrase or whatever. Peekaboo football is what Army does. It's what Georgia Tech does. It's what Air Force does. It's like the quarterback is a real threat to run the ball, right? So he gets the ball. You've got a receiver tearing down from here to the middle. So as soon as the quarterback gets the ball, he's faking a handoff to the receiver who's running full speed this way. Might be going that direction. The quarterback might be taking the ball straight up the middle, or he might be handing it off to the running back who's going that direction. Peekaboo football. You don't know where it's going, but you know one guy's running full speed that way. The quarterback might take it up the field this way, and then he might actually hand it off to the running back going that direction. So the ball might be going any of these 3 directions. I call that peekaboo football, and the Hurricanes are terrible at that. Horrible at it. It doesn't matter who we're playing against. Any team that does that stretch, when they bring that receiver from the left or the right, they bring him in motion and they act like they're going to hand the ball off to him, or sometimes they do give it to him on that jet. Like, that kills us because Kiko is not able to get out there laterally like he should be able to. So, as y'all can probably tell, I'm struggling a little bit with my voice, but we're going to power through this, baby. So, Wake Forest just didn't attack any of that. I'm watching the game, I'm like, are they trying to win? Or, I don't know. They just seem super inept, and I'm a little... I'll just say this. If I was a Wake Forest fan, I would be really concerned about what I saw this past weekend. Let's move on a little bit then. We'll talk about how I viewed this game in general, and maybe some of y'all noticed the same thing. What I noticed about this game was it felt like a microcosm of the entire season. I think the people who are excited about what the Hurricanes did in this game are the people who didn't watch every play, they just watched highlights. I think the folks who are excited about what the Hurricanes did on defense are the people who don't remember a lot of the concerns and the struggles that we've had so far, because a lot of that stuff reared its ugly head in multiple occasions. And I know I'm sounding like Mr. Debbie Downer. I don't want to be that guy, but I'm just telling y'all, if you're excited about this game, we got a rude awakening coming. I'm telling you. But anyway, it was a microcosm of this season, mainly because if you watched the Hurricanes from afar, you're not a big fan. You just happen to see like the highlights and stuff, and you see they're 10-1, so it looks great, right? And then you look at this game, 42-14. That looks great. So we're similar there. But the microcosm part also is, if you watched the entire season with the Hurricanes, you know the majority of this season went much more difficult than it really should have. And that's what I felt about this Wake Forest game. There were so many times where we could have got a pick six, where we could have gotten off the field on 3rd and 11. So many times where we had wide open receivers and just missed them or overthrew them or made some kind of crazy throw that we shouldn't have made and it ended up being an interception. It was just a microcosm of the entire season. It was like, sure, it looks great. The score and the record, they both look great. But when you look into the weeds of everything, it's like, man, this season and this game should have been a whole lot easier than what it ended up being. That's what I took from the entire game. That was the microcosm of the game for me. So now let's go ahead and get into just some of the plays that I saw. As you know, I take notes when I'm watching these games. I go through the very beginning. I've got my phone, and every single thought that comes to mind, I write it down, positive, negative, whatever it may be. The first thing that I have is this team is so frustrating, mainly because we see what the potential is with this team. In the first, I would say like midway through the first quarter, I had this thought where I was like, you know, this team is the perfect example of what a talented team, like the difference between a talented team and a good team. Like the first half, we looked like we had a talented team, but not a good team. There's a big difference in that. Talent, if you look at us, you see fast, big, strong, 4-star, 5-star athletes all over the field. That's what a talented team looks like. A good team, they have all of that, but they've got cohesion to go along with it. And it seemed like we were just all playing in different directions. Like we weren't going in the same direction. It looked like a bunch of talent there, but they weren't together as a good team. Um, and I felt like I also had the same thought at halftime. I was like, if we were playing against Syracuse or if we were playing against SMU, we'd be down probably 14 to 21 points right now. That's how I felt about this game. Um, so the first play that I actually talked about was a 3rd and 11 that Wake Forest had on their first drive. It was a surrender run, basically. They were just trying to play field position, and they ended up lucking up getting a first down out of it, which was crazy. Um, and since I'm fully aware of the struggles that the Hurricanes have had this season on defense, I was going crazy. I was in my room going crazy watching that part. I'm like, 3rd and 11 against this team, and we give up a first down on a surrender run right up the middle. That was pretty frustrating. And then you follow that up with a play action touchdown for, I don't know, 30 something yards. That was crazy. That was frustrating. Um, I don't even know what else to say about that. I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the next part. Jacoby George, I thought he played exceptionally well. This was the best game I've seen him play since maybe sometime last year. He seemed like he did almost everything right. Um, Had a real deep ball in the first half, maybe a 25, 30-yard pass where he had to stretch up and catch it because Cam put it a little high for him. He went and got it. He got hit and held on to it, which honestly I didn't expect him to do. So Jacoby George also, towards the end of the game, had a real nice little screen pass. He ended up taking to the end zone. I thought he played his butt off. He looked exceptionally well this game. So shout out to Jacoby George. People love to talk about when he does the bonehead stuff, but I'm a big proponent in like if you gonna talk bad about folks and they make mistakes, also be just quick to talk when they do things well. So let's give him kudos on that. Arroyo, I thought he had a really good game as well. He did have a bad drop, which the ball was behind him. It was like on a 3rd and 11 maybe, something like that. In I think the third quarter. And I think the score might have been like 20 to 14. And it seemed like we was like kind of teetering all of a sudden. We were trying to score. We just couldn't get the ball in the end zone. Cam threw the ball slightly behind him. He's running full speed, tried to turn around and catch it and drops it. But other than that, I thought Arroyo looked really good too. Played an outstanding game. Um, First half, I felt like the defense looked confused. I kept seeing people looking at each other, trying to figure out signals and doing all this, and then the linebackers getting frustrated, throwing their hands up in the air. They just looked confused in the first half to me. Um, and then Mish Powell ended up, honestly, I must say, he turned the game on its head with that interception. Because if you remember, before that, so the first drive, they go down and get a touchdown, right? Then the next drive, they're walking the ball up the field, making it look pretty simple. And then Mish Powell ends up stealing that ball and scoring a touchdown on that. That play turned the game on its head, and I think that is what scared, excuse me, I think that's what scared the Wake Forest offense so much. They probably looked at it like, man, if we throw the ball, it might be a pick six, and before you know it, it's going to be a 20-something point game, which ended up happening anyway. But that game seemed to turn, that play seemed to turn things on its head pretty quickly. The next thing I wrote down was the defense must be opportunistic. So that's something that I've been hearing people say throughout this year, actually. Like that's just been a coin phrase for this Miami Hurricanes defense because they're like, look, man, We're not going to look like Alabama's defense from a couple of years ago. It's not going to get to that point. It's just not going to. So all we can do is play bend but don't break. And if the opportunity presents itself to get an interception, we got to snag it. We got to get it. And it looks like that's the game plan that we're going for with the rest of this season. Bend but don't break, base align. Every now and again, the quarterback is going to make a mistake. And when he does, you have to capitalize on it. We got to capitalize on it. Mish Powell did on that one big play. He missed a couple more later on in the game, but got to give him credit for that. Okay, so I've talked about this before. I've got this pain point in football. Kickoff returns drive me crazy. And I'm sure some of y'all probably was laughing, even though you were in pain. You were probably laughing because you were thinking, I bet Jordan is somewhere tripping about this. Because in football, as you know, you have to stack good plays on top of good plays. That builds momentum. When momentum builds, the score and the lead builds. When we have a huge play like Mish Powell getting an interception, pick six, taking it all the way like we did, so for one, Wake Forest offense has struggled all season long. Do not give them any confidence. Do not give them any confidence. When the quarterback throws a pick six, his confidence goes straight to the floor, bottoms out. That means the rest of the offense, their confidence is going to bottom out. So what is the last thing that you can do? The last thing you can do is have your offense give up some points. Like, for God's sake, if Cam Ward throws a pick six and gives them 7 points. So that's one thing you can't do. The other thing that you cannot do is give up a touchdown on special teams. When an offense is struggling, do not feed that team points. And that's exactly what we did on the very next play. We get a pick six, then we kick the ball off deep, and he takes it all the way back for 7 points. If y'all would have seen me in that room when that happened, I was going crazy. I'm telling you, I would rather just kick the ball out of bounds and take the penalty on a team like Wake Forest because they're not going to score any points unless you gift them to them almost. So let's not gift them anything. Let's make them earn all of it. And I've been saying, I know we got a fumble recovery on a kickoff return this game. I understand that. But I've been saying all season, the risk reward on kickoff return is heavily favored for the returning team. Heavily favored. How many times have you seen, just think about this, how many times have you seen momentum switched because the returning team makes a mistake? Not too often. But how many times do you see the momentum switch because the returning team scored a touchdown or had a big return on it? Just look what the Cowboys did yesterday against the Commanders. It happens all of the time. The risk reward has to be weighed out before any play, especially kickoff returns. Please, if my man cannot kick it out the back of the end zone, there's got to be somebody in Coral Gables so you can put on number 99, have him walk out there on a kickoff and just kick it out the back of the end zone every play, and we just call it good. If they can't kick it out the back of the end zone, kick it out of bounds, and let's not even play kickoff returns anymore because it drives me crazy. All right, let me get off of that soapbox because I'm telling y'all, I can talk about kickoff returns for like a whole hour, and by the time I finish with it, I would still be irritated by it. It's just giving away points, and that's how you give away games. It drives me crazy. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is Cam Ward's interception. So he attempted to throw an interception to Arroyo in the second quarter. A little shovel pass, overdid it, just doing too much. But I also say this, man. People do love to kill Cam Ward because he's doing too much sometimes. But I'm telling y'all, if Cam Ward didn't have that doing too much mentality, we never would have came back to beat Cal, which I know some of it was his fault while we were down in the game, which I understand that. We wouldn't have came back to beat Virginia Tech. There's plenty of games that we would not have won if he did not have that, as y'all say, doing too much mentality. So it goes both ways, man. Sometimes it works, give him credit for it. And when it doesn't work, you got to eat it and you got to live with it. It is what it is. A lot of times it saved us this year. So whenever he does do this, throwing across this, across the field. I get just as irritated as y'all, but then I say, man, there's been plenty of games this season where that same mindset brought us back to win the game. Like, do you remember against Cal when where he eluded a defensive tackle and then he had eluded a defensive end and he threw a little shovel pass to, I think it was Williams, I think it was, and then he ran it all the way to like the 2 yard line. That was doing too much Cam Ward. It just happened to work out for us, right? So let's not kill him on this kind of stuff, y'all. Let's move on about it. Um, X. So Xavier Restrepo, as y'all know, might be in my top 5 Hurricanes of all time now, which is crazy. He's inching his way up there. He didn't play the best game this week. I didn't think last week he played very well either. Or last game, I didn't think he played very well. So he's kind of in a slump after he broke that record. But he had that fumble in the third quarter, which that just sucked. If you've played sports, if you've watched your team play sports, whatever it may be, anytime your team is favored and let's say your team is favored and you lose the game, you can typically remember during that game when you thought, man, we just might lose. When Xavier Restrepo fumbled that ball in the third quarter, I think the score was 20-14. That's when I had that first thought, man, we might lose this game. It just seemed like it was teetering, and it looked like if Wake Forest could put together one decent play-action deep ball or a couple of them, it looked like they might have our number because we were like sleepwalking. And the thing that concerned me the most about that Xavier Restrepo fumble, it wasn't actually the play, it was what happened after the play. So if you go and look at that, the sidelines had what we call no juice, none. Restrepo had he had his helmet in his hand, head straight down, walking to the sideline. Nobody went over there and was like, we all right, we good, don't worry about that. Nobody did that. He went straight to the bench and just sat there, and they showed him sitting by himself. I'm like, this team seemed like they just have no juice today. That was the first time in that game that I actually considered, like, could we actually lose to Wake Forest today? And I was pretty concerned about it because they seemed like they had no juice and they just were not up for the game. And then the next thing I wrote down on here was penalties making it difficult. I don't know what was going on with the penalties this half or this quarter, this game. It seemed like, I don't know. It's like almost I wanted to ask the offense, hey, man, do y'all want to win this game or y'all just cool? Like, you don't want to win it or do you want to win it? Because there were several times where there were penalties. Like there was a 3rd and 1. We handed the ball off to Jordan Lyle. And then it ended up being not all players were set. So they're like, nope, do that play over. Even though you're going to easily get that 3rd and 1, we got to move you back 5 yards because all of your players weren't set. So now it's 3rd and 6. We throw the ball, incomplete, punt. Like that kind of thing happened 3 or 4 times this game where we had an easy down to convert, and then we just had some kind of penalty that pushed it back further than we needed it to, and we just didn't convert on that. There were holding calls. Not all players set, like the false start. I think we did that 3 times this game. That was crazy. I don't know. Yeah, that was crazy. It was frustrating. Maybe just a lack of focus. I don't know what you call that. And then like the commentator, he did mention like that's the quarterback's fault. He's got to make sure that all of his players are set, which that is true. I don't know, man. It seemed like the offensive focus just wasn't there until the fourth quarter rolled around. And that makes me wonder. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but I feel like this team is so talented that sometimes they get bored. And that sounds weird, I know. But we've seen it happen multiple times this year where they look like one team from the first all the way to the third quarter. And then like in the fourth quarter, they look like world beaters. Like they could go out and beat an NFL team almost. I don't know. They flip a switch, but as I've heard professional players say, that gets dangerous because sometimes you reach for that switch and it don't work. So hopefully they don't get caught up in that whole thing for the rest of this season because I'm telling y'all, if we play like this against Syracuse, we're going to lose, and we're going to lose bad. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. And then if we just happen to get past Syracuse and we play like this against SMU, they actually have a good defense and they have talented running back and everything else. That game will not end well. They've got to play much better than what they did against this Wake Forest team in the next couple games. But anyway, let's keep moving forward. So 4th and 7. This was weird. I don't know what was going on here. Maybe y'all can explain what was going on. It was a 4th and 7, which I thought was like for the game, basically. It was third quarter, 4th and 7. Wake Forest was going for it, and we were up 6 points. And then somehow ended up turning into a 4th and 28, and Wake Forest was still going for it. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, I don't know what Wake Forest coach is doing. But did y'all notice that? Leave in the comment section what your thoughts were when you saw that happening. 4th and 28, and they wheeled their offense back on the field. I'm like, are they serious? And then I think they ended up getting a penalty or something, like a false start. And he was like, oh, okay, that's going to move it to 4th and 33. Let's go ahead and punt it now. Like, I don't know what they were doing. I think they were down 6 points at that time. And 4th and 28, in the third of I think it was the third quarter, and he was like, hell, we going for it. And somehow, believe it or not, I was actually a little concerned about them getting that first down. The penalty was scaring me. But okay, let's go ahead and move to the next play. So next possession, the Hurricanes had the first possession of the third quarter. 2 runs in a row, then we threw the ball, incomplete, punt. If you've watched this channel, you're familiar with me saying, I believe this team operates better when we are a throw-first offense. It's kind of tough for me to say that in this game because I honestly feel like the running game is what bailed us out this game. But I strongly prefer us to pass the ball first, and then if we see only 5 in the box, or if they sneak out a linebacker and there's only 4 in the box, then we go ahead and audible to a run play and get a quick little run in. But I really prefer us to be a pass-first offense. Whenever we come out like we did the first possession of the final possession of the third quarter. Forgive me for that. So the final possession of the third quarter. When we come out and we run the ball, and then we run it again, and then we end up with 3rd and 6, the whole possession comes down to one pass. I say if it's 1st and 10 and you run the ball and we get 3 yards, 2nd and 7, we need to be throwing the ball on 2nd and 3rd down. Both times. Because what we keep doing is run the ball on 1st, we get 2 yards. Run the ball on 2nd, we get 2 yards. 3rd and 6, this whole possession now comes down to one play, this one pass. They know we're passing it. We know we're passing it. This whole possession comes down to this. If it's complete, we keep moving. If it's incomplete, now we got to get the ball right back to on the 3rd and out. I say, let's not even play them games, man. If we're going to throw the ball, throw it on 1st, 2nd, 3rd, just throw it. I don't know if that makes sense to y'all or not. I don't know. But I say we throw the ball on 1st down. 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3, 2nd and 4. Cool, we can go ahead and slide a run play in there. But, man, on 2nd and 7, 2nd and 10, I say never run the ball. Ever. I don't care what they got on film. We're throwing it. 2nd and 10, we're throwing it every time. Because how many times have y'all seen us get a 1st down on 2nd and 10 by running the ball? Hasn't happened too often. Let's just go with our strengths and not to get cute. It is what it is. Okay. 4th quarter, 3rd and 1. Then we had a false start. Then 3rd and 6. And then we missed Arroyo on the pass. So that was the second time that happened. So he missed the pass. He threw it behind him. I mentioned that earlier. On that 4th and 6, I was screaming, let's go for it. I felt like we were right there, like I said, just teetering all game, waiting to break away from this team. We just couldn't quite do it. And I felt like we were in the middle of the field, so this was the perfect time to do it. And then my thought process on going for it on 4th down is always this. How close were we to getting that 1st down on 3rd down? If we had a wide open receiver and the quarterback just so happened to overthrow him or just missed him, I'm like, oh, yeah, we can get open on these fools. Let's go ahead and go for it. We'll get it this time. That's my thought process. Now, if it's 3rd and 2 and Cam Ward is back there and he's just fighting, I'll say 3rd and 6 and Cam Ward is back there and he's just looking everywhere and he's going back and forth and he's holding on to the ball and nobody's getting open, and he ends up getting tackled for a gain of 1 and it comes into 4th and 5, I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and punt this one. But if we have a look like we had on that 3rd and 6 where he just missed Arroyo who was wide open, I say let's go for that, man. The next thing I wrote down was Jordan Lyle. We need to have a conversation. So this is not going to be, a lot of people probably don't want to hear this, but Jordan Lyle kind of looks like the best running back we have on this roster right now. I don't know if people want to talk about that or admit that because I don't know what his NIL looked like compared to everybody else, but that's that politics stuff that I don't even care to talk about. I think whoever's the best player should be playing. And the note that I wrote down here was, I knew Jordan Lyle was fast, but I didn't know he had all that. I didn't know he could break tackles like that. Didn't know he could bounce off of defenders like he was doing. I know that he's got straight line speed. Didn't know his acceleration was like that, where he could break off of a tackle and then be full speed in 2 steps. I'm telling you, I just looked at this dude as like a stretch running back all season. I would say, like have Martinez go out there and rough up the defense real good, and then maybe in the 3rd or 4th quarter, mix in Jordan Lyle because the defense is going to be tired, and we could run some bounce plays left to right for him. But I don't know, man. This game, he kind of looked like he might be an every down back. He had 7 carries for 115 yards. That screams off the page. It screams off the page. When you go and look at the stat sheet and you look at this running back who got 7 carries for 115 yards, that jumps off the page. So, I don't know, man. We might need to have a conversation on who... I wouldn't say let's just do anything crazy and switch the running back situation right now and have throw Jordan Lyle in there as the starting running back. I wouldn't say that. Not off of one game. I wouldn't say anything crazy like that. But what I will say is, if we see something like this again this year, I'm going to be saying Martinez he's going. So he's leaving. This is his last year with the Hurricanes. I'm saying next year, Lyle probably should be a starting running back. He got home run speed. He looked impressive, man. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, I don't want to say too much. I'll just say that. The next thing I wrote down on here is, I believe the Heisman race, the Cam Ward Heisman race, I think is over now. I don't think he played well enough this game or last game. I think he needed to put up like 400 and something yards against Wake Forest and Syracuse to be able to have like a real Heisman opportunity. That loss really did kill his Heisman stock. Like as soon as they lost, his Heisman stock just plummeted, which was weird because Travis Hunter and the Buffaloes lost this past weekend against my Jayhawks. I'm a Jayhawk basketball fan because I live in Kansas. They lost against the Jayhawks, and somehow his odds got better. Weird, I know. Weird. I know he scored a touchdown. 2 touchdowns, I think, maybe. It's just weird. I don't like to do all the bias talk or whining about stuff, but that's just kind of weird to me. Cam Ward's played exceptional. They've got 1 loss all season. When they do lose, his stock just plummets. And then somehow you got Travis Hunter out there scoring touchdowns and doing the Heisman pose. They get smacked in their game, beat bad. And then his stock for the Heisman actually increased. Like his lead increased. I don't know. Make it make sense to me. I'll leave it in the comment section and explain it to me. School me on that. I don't get it. The last couple of things that I put on here was this season we have 2 wins after a bye week. If you know anything about the Hurricanes, we have been torched after bye weeks for these last few years. So that's really positive. Another thing is we've got a win after a loss. Again, if you know anything about these Hurricanes over these last few years, when we lose, a lot of times it just goes downhill. If we lose to Florida State week 5, we end up losing week 6, 7, 8, and 9. Like it just gets real bad after that. So let's give my man Mario Cristobal a round of applause. Let's give him some kudos on that. I know a lot of y'all be killing my man, but let's give him a round of applause on that because it's part of changing the culture, right? Got to be able to bounce back when things don't go well, and it seems like he's at least jumping into the waters on that. 2 wins after the bye week this year and a win after the loss. Got to take it. All right. Those are the thoughts that I have for you on the game. That's it. And then my voice is so done. I gotta get off of here, man. But I appreciate the support as always. I definitely have some videos I'm gonna be doing here real soon. What's up, Sage? By the way, because I saw your comment on a different channel. You're asking me when I was gonna post. So what's up? What's up to you, man? But yeah. I've got some videos I'm gonna do. One of them is about the Syracuse game coming up. I've got some thoughts on that. I've got some concerns on that. And then I also want to talk about Mario Cristobal. Just a conversation. I want to have a conversation with Mario Cristobal. Talk about some things that's going on this season, and what we all hope to see for the rest of the season. When the season started, we were begging for 10 wins. We got there. We were all excited about all the talent. We kept saying that we have a crazy talented team, and our schedule was easy, kind of. Let's not say easy, but it was some cushions in there. And we were like, man, we could actually run the table on this. Like, we could win 11 or 12 games if we get greedy. You know what I'm saying? And it's actually right there in front of us. So I want to have that conversation talking to Mario Cristobal about our expectations, where they were at the beginning of the season, where they are now, and then what might happen in the future. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I truly appreciate it. Thank y'all for sticking with me through this whole voice change and surgery and all that stuff. But no rest for the weary. All I know is work. We work hard. We don't whine about stuff. We get things done. So thank you. I appreciate the support. Take care. God bless. Peace.